Welcome to Kyalami for the third round of the World Superbike Championship. I'm Charlie Cox. I'm joined by Steve Parrish, and you join us here at this circuit just north of Johannesburg on an absolutely stunning day for motor racing.
Yes, apparently there is a 20% chance of rain showers today, but as I look out the commentary booth window, there's blue skies and little white puffy clouds, so I don't think there's much chance of that. And as I look over to the right, you can see the centre of Johannesburg, and as you can see from your picture, that's where we are, Kyalami in South Africa. And the next race will be in Sugo in 2 weeks' time. Then it's back to Europe, and I'm sure we're going to have a great season for you in World Superbike racing this year. Yeah,
that just goes to show how much there is ahead of us and how much there is behind us. Only 2 rounds so far, and Troy Bayliss keeps winning all the races. That's pretty easy to keep up with so far.
Yeah, it's easy for us to monitor 100 points, 25 points per win, and that's what he's had, 4 wins. Amazing stuff. The man chasing him is Colin Edwards on the Honda, but he's got, well, he needs to win here this weekend, quite frankly, to keep his championship hopes alive, unless obviously something happens to Bayliss. He really does need a win here this weekend, but he loves the circuit.
Yeah, you'd have to say that if there was anywhere he was going to win, anywhere he looked really strong, this is it. That's a great aerial view of the circuit. It's a very challenging place.
There is a map of the circuit, and you can see it takes into a fast right hand and then a very fast left hand, and then it starts slowing down back up the old pit straight, and there's lots of undulations around. It's quite a bumpy circuit. The riders have been complaining. Circuit length 4.2 kilometres, 2.6 miles. Winner Colin Edwards and Ben Bostrom last year. But one thing this picture doesn't tell you, we are 1,500 metres above sea level. That's close on 5,000 feet. The air is very, very thin. It hurts the bikes and it hurts the riders a little bit. The bikes are nowhere near as efficient.
Lucky that we are both athletes of some renown, Steve, so we're feeling fine, but everybody else must be really struggling. Okay, as you can see, tight and twisty, people still trying to queue to get into the circuit. It's going to be a huge crowd. You can see down there. Now, take us around, Steve. Let's have a look on board with Colin Edwards.
Well, this is the big SP2 V-twin Honda, and now we're going through that very fast left-hander now. That is taken in 4th gear, and then he'll slam the brakes on at this point, just going down through the gears, through another left kink, but then into Nashua. This is a 2nd gear corner. Some take it in first on the Ducati, 2nd on the Honda. Accelerating now up through the gears, all the way up to 4th. 5th gear, maybe just before he tips it right into Sunset Corner. This is the old pit straight when it was the old circuit. It's been modified a lot in the late 80s. Through Sunset Corner, hospitality units over on your left-hand side. Ben Bostrom said it's dangerous because there's not much run-up area there, and I wouldn't argue with him. Now down into 2nd gear again. Through Goodyear Corner, coming out of there off of the front wheel, just pops up into the air. And now towards the Winfield S's, and as the track drops away, he'll keep it tight, flicking it right just there. And that's where it's very bumpy. It's even upsetting our onboard camera as he goes through that right-hander. Powering up the hill, over the crest of the hill here. You don't even see this corner before you get to it. West Bank corner, and at that point the surface changes, then it changes again. Clip the apex on the left-hand side, and now powering it all the way out down the hill. This is the mine shaft, and it's a mine shaft because you're going down the hill and it seems to narrow. The speed picks up close on 140 miles an hour here before he'll brake very, very hard, trying to get the bike back over to the left and tipping it into this quite cambered right-hander. This is known as the bowl, coming out of here now up onto the curb. Colin uses a bit of curb there on the left-hand side, but this is the Mickey Mouse chicane. Stop the bike, rear wheel comes up in the air, tip it right, not too deep in there, then left, and out you go, up towards the last and final corner. There's the pit lane entrance on your left-hand side, and this is the final corner, right down into 1st gear. Listen to this Honda accelerate out of here now. There you go, and that's the fastest part of the circuit.
And what a roller coaster ride it is. You can see here it's a sunny day. The track temperature already up to 41 degrees, Steve. That's pretty hot. The air temperature not too bad because we are being blessed by a bit of a cool breeze.
Yeah, temperature's pretty much the same as they've been all weekend, so the tyre people are fairly happy. They think they're all sorted out. We've spoken about the altitude around here, and the fact that the bikes do lose a bit of power, it makes it easier on the tyres, so they will be running fairly soft compound tyres here, and it's fairly even, the same amount of left and right-hand corners around this circuit.
As I was saying, Frankie Keeley had been looking pretty strong. He'd actually, after Superpole, gridded up 7th fastest, so he was on the 2nd row. He was actually 5th quickest in qualifying prior to his Superpole lap, so really, really improving. And you have to think about the start of the season that Frankie's having, because once again, he was extremely strong as well in Australia. At Phillip Island a couple of weeks back, really threatening, and neither of those turned into results. There is your grid. Colin Edwards, as I mentioned at the start, Really looking strong here, and he is your pole man. He was pole man in Australia as well. Troy Bayliss alongside him and very close to him as well. Ben Bostrom, really somebody to watch here, third fastest, and Noriyuki Haga joins them on the front row. Got a quick time when he needed it. Neil Hodgson, good super pole from him as always. Azutsu, stunning performance from him. He was languishing just before the super pole, just before qualifying, but banged in a quick lap up into 6th. Petticini, great stuff from him. Juan Batista Borja also on the front row. James Tosland, third row. Ruben Zaus, who we just saw getting tangled up with Keeley. That was a disappointing super pole lap from him. Not a bad result there for Chris Walker. Wanted better, but that's not bad. And Bocciani as well on the third row. Then Lavia on the Suzuki. He's been struggling across the weekend. Serafino Foti, Steve Martin and Brock Parks. That's your first 4 rows.
One wonders if Brock Parks might get elevated up to the better bike in the NCR team now. It's a possibility. Frankie is apparently going to try and get himself back together for Japan in 2 weeks' time, but I very much doubt it. This is the onboard view we will be getting throughout the race from the Castrol Honda, the SP2 Honda of Colin Edwards. Rev counter there in that, and that is looking back from Colin Edwards. So we've got some great onboard shots coming to you here for this 25-lap race, and that is the GSE team bike sat behind, you could see quite easily, of Neil Hodgson.
Okay, that's the onboard view as well from Troy Bayliss' bike. Getting ready for a start. Edwards on the right, revs are up, ready to go. Lights are red, they're green, and they're away. It's a good start there for Bayliss. Edwards didn't look quite so strong. Scooting down the inside, I think the World Championship's the champion has just hooked it in. Edwards has to settle for 4th place. That's a bit of a disappointment for him. Just sliding through here. Bostrom's up into 2nd. Then Haga up into 3rd. All filtering round now into Nashua. Good start from Haga. And look, straight away, Bostrom's just sliding down the inside, taking the advantage. The 155 on the right behind him. Now Haga, Bayliss back to 3rd. Edwards back into 4th. Fast and furious now, hooking into Sunset Corner. Very strong start there for Bayliss, but stronger stuff still from Bostrom.
And Bostrom ran very wide. That was a corner he said he took at 9/10. Didn't look like it to me because he was fast through there. So Bostrom, what confidence did he have on that front Dunlop? He just stuck it in there down the inside, on board here now with the Castrol Honda in 4th place. Rev counter on the right-hand corner. You can see it at the bottom. Through the S's now. Edwards very good out of here. He'll get the drive up the hill, coming out of there, change of surface. Let's see if he can do anything on the brakes into Westfield.
He just seemed to get bogged there at the start, Steve. Didn't quite work for him, but Haga, it's working for him. Just carries the speed right up into Westbank. Take that, slides down the inside of Bostrom. Strong pass.
Nitro Norrie is back. He's leading this race at the start, or is he? Yes, he is still in front. The Sultan of Slide, Nitro Norrie, whatever you want to call him, he is exciting. So even on first lap, it's all happening. Bostrom goes up the inside, down into the inside in the bowl. Bostrom retakes the lead and nearly pushes Haga off.
These guys are not taking prisoners earlier. Bostrom has a quick look over his shoulder, make sure he's through. He is hooking now down into the left-right. This extremely tight chicane. We've had about four race leaders already, and we haven't finished a lap. Big swerve there by Bostrom, hooks it in tight. This is the corner under the start-finish straight, and he's through cleanly. It's starting to settle down just a tiny bit. Across the strike, Bostrom from Haga from Bayliss.
And Neil Hodgson got into 4th place, I think, as they cross the line. Yes, he does. He's past Edwards. So Hodgson up into 4th. But this action, there's a battle going on here at the front. 2 Dunlop shod machines. It's Ducati from Aprilia, and then the world champion in 3rd place. And I'm sure Troy Bayliss is going to be watching with interest what goes on in front of him. He won't want those guys to be pulling away, but he'll be quite happy staying out of this bearing, bashing action on these early stages.
Yeah, well, they're really starting to clear out. Haga's now just been shifted back one. Bostrom has slid back and fighting hard. Now Bostrom's on the inside. Haga, that's the long way round, and he's done it into Goodyear. Unbelievable stuff. That doesn't work.
Oh, it doesn't normally work, but it does for Norrie, doesn't it? Round the outside, the long way round. Bostrom had no answer to it. Let's see what's going to happen. What they really don't want to do is keep tripping one another over. If what would normally happen, Bostrom might say, OK, Norrie, you can lead the race. I'll follow you. Let's see what goes on. See if we can pull away from Bayliss at this early stage of the race. But Neil Hodgson definitely up into 4th place. Great stuff. Zaus in 6th already. Tosland 7th.
Absolutely stunningly strong stuff there from the pair of them. Extremely brave pass from Haga around the outside there at Goodyear. Everybody complains it's a bumpy corner. Didn't seem to stop him. Down through into the bowl now. Haga hooks in. That bike lurking in 3rd place with the number 1 on it is Bayliss. There's Hodgson, there's Edwards, and Zaus is up now behind Colin Edwards as well. So he's done very strongly.
Unbelievably well. Now I'm a bit worried about Colin Edwards. What's happening to him? Has he gone for harder tyres? Has he decided he's going to wait for the latter part of the race? But he's dropping back a long way.
Yeah, I reckon he's coming under even more pressure again now. Just a glance back. Now here's the view back, and there's Zaus.
Zaus has come all the way through from that third position. This is looking back from the VTR Honda of Colin Edwards down the straight. Nothing wrong with the speed there, but for some reason he's losing grip, or he's dropping back from the leading guy. So this is Zaus. This is where the accident happened earlier this morning, but all through there cleanly. See Colin Edwards up on the curb using everything he can. He's now coming into the old pit straight. He'll tip it in left, down into second gear, out of this corner, getting on it. Back at the front, meanwhile, it's still very close. Now it's the world champion. Treacherous Troy, we started to call him, and he is treacherous the way he's coming up there.
Yeah, he's starting to get the magnets on now, starting to draw Bostrom back towards him. There's a tiny, tiny gap opening up between Bostrom and Haga up on the Aprilia at the lead of this race. We're riding with Troy Bayliss. Where's he got to look? What's he got to do? Where's a good spot?
Well, it's very tough to pass around here, really. Any move you make is a block pass, but a good place would be after this. After the S is coming up the hill now. This is taken in third gear, powering up the hill, quickly into fourth, over the top, but he's nowhere near close enough. But later in the race, this is where we'll see some action. We saw Haga already, but if you can stuff it down the inside, you can do a block pass and just jam yourself down on the inside and get the drive out.
Your blood run cold.
Oh, it certainly does. These Ducati engines are really only life for about 700 kilometres, so, and after that it costs something like £6,000 or £7,000 to replace them or to rebuild them. So every lap's a pretty expensive one, but if you're doing as well as Bayliss, I'm sure the Ducati factory don't mind that. This is the tricky chicane. Really, you have to be so careful that you don't go in too deep on that part of the into the right-hander so you can get good drive out of it. Through here now, Bostrom is so fast. He gets that Ducati spinning up. Sometimes you can hear the engine revs going up as he spins that rear tyre. No question about it, Neil Hodgson very, very much in touch there in fourth.
Yeah, great stuff from him. You can see they just nick a little bit of the pit lane exit there to improve their run into this very, very fast series of left-handers. Fast indeed through there. Bostrom looks strong through there. Bayliss taking a different line, holds it a little bit wider. That's up into Nashua then on the power. This is the old pit straight. And you can see the legs of that Aprilia just start to stretch out there. Bayliss is having a look down the inside of Bostrom. We're hooking into Sunset. Bostrom says, no thanks, not yet, sunshine. I'm pretty good around here and I'm going to hang on to this.
And it looked very much to me, that Bayliss had the speed on Bostrom. They should be the same identical bikes, obviously different sponsors, but the bikes are supposed to be the same. The one interesting thing, we've got Dunlop, Michelin, the two Dunlop bikes we're looking at in front. That wouldn't make any difference to the speed, but Bayliss looked like he had some speed on Bostrom then.
Maybe his sponsorship just weighs a little bit less. Down now through the S's and up the hill once again. The view from Bayliss's bike gives you some idea of how steep that hill is. I walked up it, that was bad enough. Now, what can Bayliss do? Bostrom quick out of there and streaking down that hill. The mine shaft, they hook a left in there. Haga is fearless through that fast stuff, Steve.
Yeah, he is very, very quick. Now, look, Bayliss again looking very, very threatening on the brakes. Now, Bayliss would be hard to pass anybody really till they get all the way back round to Goodyear. There's not many overtaking place. Again, look at the bikes go really light. Haga's bike stands on its nose. This is the point. I said if you're going too deep on that right, it's easy to screw up the left-hand side of it, but it all worked well for these front three guys. Bostrom, as usual, getting that bike snaking around. Now Bayliss out of here, taps the power. We're on board with him. Let's see if there is any speed. Looks to me like he has a little bit of speed. Closing, and really it's not that fast apart to be slipstreaming. And he gets through. That, again, isn't in the manual. Fast corner. Bayliss goes through into second spot at the end of the pit straight.
We saw him stalking. We saw him looking. We saw Bostrom's lapboard being held up saying Bostrom plus naught. That was naught nothing. Bostrom just fights back, stuffs his bike down the inside of Bayliss. Bayliss fights back again as they go through Nashua, and Bostrom hangs onto it. Bayliss is trying to fight. We're on board with Bayliss again. We're hooking now into the fast right Sunset corner. Very, very quick, and it gets tighter. It looks easy. You think it's done, then it comes bound around more on you. Then down now into Goodyear. This is the bump. This is where they don't like. Great pass.
Great pass, but all the time this is helping Noriyuki Haga up the front there because these two bashing around in front of each other, and Bostrom I saw riding very, very defensively. He didn't want Bayliss past him. He was just keeping a nice tight line, already closed that gap down. So Colin Edwards now closing in on this pack. It looks he's closing in on
Bostrom's through. Look, Bostrom's just slid through down the inside, right up at the top of Westbank, and Haga's trying to hold the tight line and fight back. Banging bearings with each other as they go through there, and Bostrom is through. Unbelievable stuff.
but the speed of the Aprilia coming down there. Now, let's see if Bostrom keeps a tight line into the defensive line. He does. Look, he's keeping himself well in the middle of the road. Haga takes the long sweeping line, but just as he gets to the apex, there's a Ducati in the way. And now there's a surprise. Bostrom wants to get in front. I think, look at the rear wheel up in the air, jams the brakes on, slides it in there nicely. Bostrom gets through there, so I think Bostrom's going to make a break, or try to make a break. He's got clear air in front of him. He's got a clean track in front of him.
And look, Bayliss is lunging down the inside as well. Bayliss has now taken Haga. Now Haga fights back. It's 3 abreast. That's not in the script. What's going on? Bayliss is now left into the lead. Incredible stuff now. Coming through the hook right-hander. It's Bayliss from Haga. What happened to Bostrom?
Bostrom outbraked himself. Into the last corner. Bostrom went in there way too deep. Just couldn't get the power on, and that's the deal with these bikes. You've got to square the corner off a bit. Couldn't get on the power. Big mistake from Ben Bostrom when he hit the front.
Up into Nashua, have another look.
There you go. Look, out on the wide part, you can't get on the power because A, you can't see the exit corner, and B, you're on the dirty part of the track. All the particles of rubber and the grit that gets washed out. Bostrom was on it. Wrong place to be. So that was just a nice invitation. There you go, boys. You can go to the front.
Thinking to himself, oh, I just got past all the guys. Just done all of that hard work. Now I'm coming under pressure. Now the two riders have had such ding-dong battles all year long. Bostrom and Hodgson, especially in Australia, they were so close together. Now he's got Hodgson right behind him. It was out Ben Bostrom. Haga ahead, and Bayliss starting to clear out. That's ominous.
Well, once again, Troy Bayliss just using his head, sat there behind them, and just really had an open door, wasn't it? Just Bostrom made that mistake, and he swept through there. Now it's Bostrom and Haga, both Dunlop bikes, but remember Aprilia in second with Haga. There is... And if they start tripping over one another, they're going to let Bayliss get away. Hodgson already closing the gap, and there is the Hodgson in front of us, on board again with Edwards. Bayliss really stretched that advantage now.
I think Ben Bostrom has done quite enough grip exploring for one race already, as we see Edwards now just sliding down the inside of Hodgson. I think he just took him. Up into Nashua, there's Bayliss, as you say, that big lead. Then Haga, yep, up in the 4th position. Must be thinking to himself, time to get a wriggle on.
Yeah, I think there's no question about it. Colin Edwards didn't want to push things too early at the start of this race.
In fact, Hodgson's lost 2 places there.
Right, Hodgson now starting to go backwards, but I think that, yeah, Zaus has gone through. Ruben Zaus has bashed his way through there, the number 11 machine you can see behind the Castrol Honda. So as we look at the front, and it's Bayliss, Haga, Bostrom, Hodgson. No, he's gone back behind there in this last lap, so it's all action. This is the overtaking manoeuvre now. We're on board with the Castrol Honda. And again, this is where he passed Bostrom last year. Brave move, end of the straight. Jams it down the inside. Nowhere for Hodgson to go. So now looking back, we've got the same thing going on. I think what happened is it pushed Neil Hodgson out wide. Zaus saw the gap, and there he is, like a rat up a drain pipe. He's down the inside. Yeah, that's really balked him. And in fact, that's exactly where Ruben Zaus and Frankie Keeley came to grief this morning in warm-up. All the time that advantage from Bayliss, but I think they've regrouped themselves a little bit, and they're going to need to, because Zaus, let's face it, is charging. He is coming through, still the fastest lap to Haga, 1:42.19.
Yeah, well, there's not much room for any of these men to get a fastest lap because they are absolutely tangled with each other. Riding with Colin Edwards, that's Ben Bostrom ahead of us. Now Edwards lunges down the inside, that's Haga. There's Bostrom now behind us. You can't get a clearer view than that.
Beautiful stuff there from Colin Edwards. He really is just chipping away at it, but all the time he's got to be careful. Bayliss is pulling that advantage. 1.7 seconds he has over this man we're looking at now, but the threatening man for sure is the Texas Tornado, the number 2 Castrol Honda, the 2000 world champion there. He's the threatening man on the circuit at the moment.
But Steve, this can't have been a full strategy. Okay, now he's digging deep as Edwards and trying to work his way back up through the field, but this has got to do off that start. He just didn't get off the line well and found himself in P4 into the first corner. Yeah, he just lost a little bit of aggression, or he wasn't quite as aggressive as the other guys in those early 2 corners, and that's all it takes. If you just don't stick it up the inside, but it's a gamble. If your tyres are not up to temperature, you can easily lose the race on the first corner, but you can't win it on the first corner, as is said, and that's very, very true. Okay, if you're Troy Bayliss, what are you doing right now? You're trying to bolt, get a gap? Yeah, all you're doing, looking at your pit board, just get your head down, go as fast as you possibly can, try and stretch that advantage. Already it's 1.7. If he can come round now, and Edwards goes down the inside. He's got him straight up into West Bank, lined him up, dragged up the hill. Once again, Haga tries to fight back, but can't do it. Really carried some speed in there. That's exactly what Troy Bayliss won't want to see, because almost certainly next time he comes round, it will say Edwards P2, and Edwards is the man. He's charging. Let's see if Bayliss can do anything about it. They're all queuing up behind Edwards, but no question about it, he's the fastest man. He's come all the way through this pack, got himself with now a clear gap of 2 seconds, and let's see if he's going to close that down. Okay, here's another look.
This is up over the top of the hill. He can't even see the corner. You have to be so committed in there, but he's got himself. It's a kind of block pass. He's on the inside. You'll see on the left-hand side, there he goes, straight the way through underneath, and he was able to just turn the Honda, get the power back on. Haga had a look at going up the inside of him again, but that Honda turns well, and he's now got good grip on the rear.
Okay, the big question now, can the Tex Tornado start to clear out? Yes, he is. Look at that gap already. Back to Haga. Bayliss, Edwards, Haga, then Bostrom, Zaus and Hodgson. Those three are still close together.
Edwards using every bit of the track, every bit of the curb for that matter. He was right on the top edge of the curb again, coming out of there. And that's an amazing, this is from the helicam looking down, and you can see that gap. That is Bayliss out in front, but the man chasing him is Colin Edwards on the Honda. Through the long, fast sweep there now. Beautiful circuit.
That's Edwards, Haga. Now you can have a look there. Ruben Zaus is a man on the move as well. That aerial shot was showing us what was going on. Zaus and Bostrom. Zaus to the right, Bostrom to the left, side by side. Just shuts the nose off, going down into the S's. Bostrom's got it, but you're right. Zaus is on a move. Zaus is really pressuring. Now, what can he do? This is the toe up the hill, trying to get to the left-hand side, coming up into West Bank. This is where a lap ago we saw Edwards pull a place on Haga.
And I think Zaus has gone through.
He's taken him. Now, can Bostrom fight back? No, he can't. Zaus is clearly through, back down the hill fast.
Well, you've got to got a long way around those legs, haven't you? Because Zaus, look at him, number 11, there's legs sticking out everywhere. Spider-Man, it makes a bigger bike than you would imagine. He dwarfs that Ducati. Zaus definitely the man on the move. He's now homing in on Noriyuki Haga on the Aprilia all the time. The gap at the front, 1.9 now, so he's still eking out a fraction over Colin Edwards.
Very easy to imagine seeing Ruben Zaus on the podium at least at the end of this race. Zaus is working very hard. That was too quick.
I mean, we heard Ben Bostrom say, I didn't realise there was that much grip on the paint, but we just saw Rubens out there sliding it in, up on top of the curb. Look at them, all having a big chunk, making a nicer entrance. They use a bit of the pit lane exit there to get them a better sweep into this left-hander now, but Rubens Zaus is absolutely flying. Still the fastest lap, though, is to Noriyuki Haga.
Haga's starting to ride a slightly defensive line now. There's the gap, 1 to 2. There's nothing much in it. But the gap between 2 and 3, there is nothing in it at all. You can see it. There's Bayliss. Zaus. Haga, Zaus through that fast left-hander sunset. Bostrom still in touch. And Hodgson, who we've seen so many times, have great scraps with Ben Bostrom. Massively different riding styles between Haga and Zaus.
Yeah, well, Zaus is just all over that bike, isn't he? Legs and arms sticking out every which way, dwarfs the bike. He gets the thing sliding around. People always said you can't slide the Michelins. Well, as Ruben Zaus has disproved that factor. Noriyuki Haga has never looked smoother on a bike. That's the riding style that you need to make that Aprilia lap quickly. We saw last year with Troy Corsa. Never got the thing very much out of shape.
Zaus is having a run up into the corner. Yep. Oh, and there's some contact there. Haga tries to fight back. I don't know whether he... Oh, Ben Bostrom sliding down the inside as well. I don't know whether Haga was actually blindsided there, but Zaus just dropped right in.
Well, once again, a strong move from Ruben Zaus. He's already been up in front of the stewards. He is down the inside. Haga coming in. Haga won't know what's going on, and all of a sudden, Zaus just bashes in there, really. So a very, very strong move from number 11, Ruben Zaus. Is he going to get caught up in front of the stewards again? It doesn't normally go on in motorcycle racing, but Zaus does seem desperate to get through there. Haga will not be best pleased. Can he fight back and repay him that compliment? We'll wait and see. So there is a change at the front, and there's Zaus. Look at him just slide that bike in. Now we call that backing in, but really that's about using a bit of back brake, shifting down through the gears. These bikes have slipper clutches, which allows you to change down through the gears, and it doesn't lock the rear brake, doesn't lock the rear wheel, but it allows the bike to slide in, and Zaus is very much a master of that. He slides it in, and it's like an oversteer of a car. It allows it to open the corner up. It turns the bike.
Hard to imagine Zaus ever locking the rear wheel. Near as I can see, it's never on the ground when he's under brakes. Hooking up now through Nashua onto the back of the circuit. Zaus is getting a handicap already back to Haga. He obviously was being held up. There is Zaus, that's P3. Haga, 4th. And then in behind them, Bostrom and Hodgson. And Neil Hodgson still very much in touch as well. This isn't over for him by any means. There he is, bike 100, the orange colours. Just ahead of him, Bostrom, just ahead of him. Haga on the Aprilia. He's coming under some pressure now. It looks as though in this mid-stage of the race, Bostrom is starting to try to regroup.
Yeah, I think he probably is. Maybe the tyres... Oh, and Haga had a big slide there. Haga just tapped that Aprilia on. Meanwhile, has really responded to that pressure from Colin Edwards. There is the gap, you see him going through. So it looks like Bayliss has just got his head down and his tail up a little bit, and he's lapping a bit quicker than Colin Edwards now, just fractionally keeping that gap the same. But Zaus really does look like an accident waiting to happen. Hager tried to come back on the inside, and Zaus, I've got to say, he is all over the place, slithering and sliding around, but that's his style. But he's going to wear his tyres out. I'm watching him spin it up coming out the corners.
Okay, so Neil Hodgson wants a piece of this as well. We've got Bostrom now in front of Hager, and Hodgson on bike 100 in behind Hager. Wants to bring a bit of pressure on. If you can do it, Ben, I can do it too. We've got the same sort of bike. Last year's I've got, you've got this year's, but we've got the same tyres, that's for sure. What can he do? Onto the start-finish straight again. A little bit of a squirm, bit of a wobble there as Hager tries to get the power on across the strike again. Hager really uses heaps and heaps of that pit lane exit. It's a very, very deep line he's taken. We saw him do that in Superpole as well. Seems to beat that big jump, the bump on the circuit, just after that start-finish straight. A
lot of the guys say that you don't ride this circuit on the ideal line, not the line that would be most efficient. You ride it to miss the bumps. You know, it's like going around the Isle of Man. You have to know where the drain hole covers is. It's not quite as extreme here at Kyalami, but nevertheless, it really does make a difference. But I really do think tyres are starting to come into play. Remember, these bikes down on power because of this altitude situation, the air being thin and the engines don't work so well, and it really does give the tyres a little bit easier time. Having said that, the tyre manufacturers will go for a soft compound. You want a tyre that gives you maximum amount of grip, so they will have softened the compounds.
Yeah, I guess it sounds a bit contradictory because it's a bumpy circuit, but it's a smooth circuit at the same time. Bumps because the bumps are in the tarmac, and smooth because the actual track surface is not particularly abrasive, and there are lots of left and right-hand corners here which balance it up.
There is the gap we are seeing, and it's now been pulled out to 2.2 seconds. That is the gap between Bayliss and Colin Edwards.
That's the view down the mine shaft again. They run. There's the onboard with Colin Edwards.
Just hearing feather it through that mine shaft corner. Now he goes down through the gears, and I think Adrian Gorge from the team told me they use first gear at this corner. Quickly to second. There you go, into second. Now back into first for this right-left flick.
Revs very hard, doesn't it, for a big V-twin?
Yeah,
you can see the 10,000 mark there, but the needle's always gone. It's way north of that.
Way north, about 12,500 RPM for this big V-twin machine. Massive, great big pistons in this bike. Quite interestingly, we said earlier the Ducatis need to be, the engines have to be rebuilt after 700 kilometres. Well, they go to something like 2,000, 2,500, the Honda. Seems to be slightly more robust. They have to change the valve springs after 2,000, but the rest of it, the pistons and cylinders and everything, crankshaft, will go 3,000 kilometres. Fairly robust engine on this SP2 Honda.
Looking up into Sunset Corner, Edwards will be scratching his head at this point, I think, trying to work out what it is he can do. Okay, now Susie is down in the pits right now, and she's got Neil Tuxworth with her.
Yeah, thanks very much, Charlie. That's, of course, Colin's team manager now, Neil. Not the start that Colin would have wanted, but bearing in mind that Troy and Colin have been in similar lap time for qualifying. Can he catch him?
Well, we certainly hope so. I mean, Troy's riding exceptionally well this year, but again, Colin didn't make such a good start, and it's something, obviously, that we're trying to work on at the moment.
Okay, it's this kind of track, isn't it, where you make one mistake and it's very difficult to catch Troy?
Yeah, I mean, I think Troy made a mistake the lap before. He certainly lost about a couple of seconds on that lap, so obviously that's helped us. It's going to be very interesting. We're just over half race distance, so it's certainly not over by any means at the moment.
Thanks very much, Neil.
Okay, well, there you go. It's down to mistakes as much as anything else.
It certainly is, and someone that looks like they have made a mistake is Gregorio Lavia on the Suzuki. He's now 2 laps down. I'm wondering if he crashed with Pedicini. It's quite possible. So Gregorio Lavia is looking like he's out of this race. Still back on board. Now that looks visibly closer to me, doesn't it? I reckon Colin Edwards is closer. We're going to just check. Last time round it was 1.1 seconds as they cross the line, and we'll get it up on our screen now. 1.2. So no, maybe my eyes need looking at.
Easy, old fella, you just take it. I'll get you a cup of tea in a second. Hooking down into the bottom of the circuit. Now up into Nashua Corner. double apex there, and you're up on the rise. At that point there, when the riders arrive there, it's very hard to see up and over the top, and later on today for the second race, with the sun beaming in there, it's an extremely difficult part of the track. Yeah,
it is. In fact, now the guys are starting to feel it. They must be physically, you're always a little bit more out of breath with this thin air up here. And it is such a long race, 25 laps round. There really isn't a breather. If you follow a lap round here, there's just no time when the guy gets a chance to just settle down a little bit. There is nothing about it. Now, I'm just going to look at the lap times. Last lap round, 43.0, 43. Edwards has definitely stabilised it. So maybe, as Neil Tuxworth said, it's just down to whoever makes any mistakes.
Interesting things about this circuit as well is because it isn't hard on tyres and they can race on a pretty soft tyre, it does mean that we get quite close times, race times, quite close to qualifying times, really.
That's right. Normally on a circuit that's abrasive, there's no way you can use a really soft tyre in the race because it just tears it to shreds. You get so much degradation of the tyre, it just starts falling apart. But as you say here, with it being the actual asphalt being quite smooth, a bit like Brands Hatch in some ways, there's not a lot of aggressive type of tarmac that's going to tear the tyre apart. So they get very, very close to the qualifying tyres, and some of the guys using race tyres for qualifying, for that matter.
It's just the bumps on this circuit that make life difficult.
Right, we're on board again, and last time around the gap was 1.2. Keep an eye on it if Colin Edwards can close it down over the start and finish line, around about 160 miles an hour at this point, just there as they tip it in, 160, and then on the brakes through there, 1.5. So yeah, definitely I'm going to have to go off to the opticians. That gap is extended.
Colin Edwards fearless through there. This time last year, put his bike down the inside of Ben Boston there on a pass that had to be seen to be believed. Colin Edwards extremely successful. This is the sort of circuit where you expect him to do well. This is the circuit that he likes. He did so much pre-season testing here, and right until the last day when Troy Bayliss beat him to the punch, he was the quickest man here as well. And Hager is off, we've just heard. No, there he is. Hager is down. He's okay. Most importantly, he's okay. But that's disappointing. We saw him struggling for grip, though, Steve.
Yeah, we did. Things were going bad for him. I think it was a wrong tyre choice. He was going backwards, looked very strong in the early part of the race. Fortunately, that's a big runoff area at that point on the circuit. Not happy about it at all. This is a replay of it, and he's coming down us into the mine shaft, I think, isn't it? No, he's got it. No, he's sliding in it. Wowee! That was just getting it to... We talk about backing it in, and he was trying to slide it in. Now, wonder if maybe the slipper clutch wasn't working right. Maybe he went down too many gears, or maybe it was just a mistake from him, too much rear brake. But definitely he was locking up that rear end sliding in.
Well, it's been such an eventful spot. That's actually down there, turn 3. That's down exactly where Keeley and Zaus came together earlier today. It is fast, it is off camber, and it hooks in, and that's the first part of that Nashua corner that gets tighter and tighter. Yeah, this has been a race of extremely changing fortunes. There's Borciani, bike number 20. This is the battle for 9th position. There's Juan Bautista Borja, bike 33, and just ahead of him, Borciani, bike 20. Bike 20, he is the teammate of Petticini. He and Petticini ride the same bikes. And as we know, Lucio Petticini is off. He's had a fall in this race. Now, Borja's working hard. Borja's an extremely experienced rider, and lots is expected on him, actually.
Yeah, as I said earlier, he had a poor year last year on a Yamaha R7, but prior to that, had some good rides on the Ducati team. There you have at the bottom of the screen, that's exactly how it is. Bayliss from Edwards, and from Zaus, Boss from there, Hodgson in 5th, 3 seconds back. Isuzu has come all the way from the back, passing his teammate Chris Walker there in 8th place, and this is the battle you're looking at now with Borja, and Brock Parks is behind these two.
Running on a tighter budget than the big works boys above. Borciani just looks over his shoulder. See if Borja can carry enough speed there through Sunset Corner. After here we straighten up, then we hook left into Goodyear. This is the part of the circuit with the bumps that bother the riders so much. A lot of the bumps on the circuit, you can see both of the bikes just porpoising on their way out there. A lot of the bumps apparently caused by trucks that races. A lot of truck racing here. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you?
No, nothing about it whatsoever, and I deny all knowledge of it. So let's get back to these motorcycles, shall we?
Right.
And over the top of the hill, but there's no question about it that number 33 there, Borja, is very much pressurising the bike in front, and you can see again, talk about porpoising, but that was when they just tapped the throttle on, and that was nothing to do with trucks whatsoever. So down the hill, Borja, I think, is going to make a move soon. He seems to be quicker on the southern end of the circuit. That's where he seems to be making up all the time.
Borciani and Borja both running Dunlops. And of course, as you can see, running Ducatis. This is the rise. This is the part of the circuit that gets light, lifts the rear of the bike up. Now here is where Colin Edwards just dipped his knee into the dirt, just carrying it too tight. An extremely frustrating corner, that one.
It's a nasty, nasty corner that nobody really likes. It spoils the flow of the circuit, done to slow things down to make it less dangerous because not a lot of runoff area. The fact of the matter is just behind there, if you go over the wall there, it's about a 30-foot drop down to a service road. And
that's very strong stuff. That Borjas just trying to lunge down the inside, carry a bit of speed through pit lane. Almost balked himself, I think.
I think he did. Now there is the gap between first and second. You can see it's virtually the whole of West Bank corner there. In front is that bike of base from Edwards, now out to 3.4 seconds. Then another further 3 seconds back is Ruben Zaus.
Yeah, Ben Bostrom's really fallen away from this battle as well now. He's another 4 seconds back, and Hodgson further back again. So it's really, really settled out. Reminds you, the front three runners, this man here, your race leader, no big surprise there, I guess, Troy Bayliss, they're all running the same tyres. Bayliss and Zaus. Zaus has done well to club his way up into third. It has been a rough and tumble ride, but he's at the moment holding third position. But they've got the same bike, same tyres. Where's Colin Edwards? There's the team. Well, they're all pretty relaxed there in the Ducati camp. Looks like job done, as usual.
Yeah, they're looking relaxed, but really all the mechanics are going, oh my goodness, it's down to me now, because Bayliss is doing the right job. And as a team technician, you think, oh God, I hope I put that together, the clutch right and this right and everything else. So really it's down to those guys now, and it happens all the time. A lot of pressure on those mechanics. On board again now with Colin Edwards. Now he can see nothing in front of them apart from the Kyalami circuit, because it looks like Bayliss is even gone on this short back straight here. He's that much in front, nearly 4 seconds out in front, as Edwards just sort of cruises round. He has a 3-second advantage over Zaus behind him. We're on lap 24 now, so 23 of 25, so a very short distance to go before the end of this race. And there you see those gaps. Not much going on really. No real close racing all the way back down the field. This is on board with him now, out of that chicane, up towards the last corner. As he comes round here, he'll have a glance across to the left-hand side where his pit board will be hung out for him. Do we get a chance to see it? No, but he will. We can't turn the camera. He can turn his helmet.
Mauro Cencini just looking over his shoulder there on the Kawasaki, letting Bayliss through. They do a pretty good job, all of these privateers. It's easy to say back markers as we look at them now taking their final lap, but they're all riding flat out. They're all doing their level best on the equipment they've got. Never exemplified more than I saw McKeefka in the pits just before practice yesterday. All of the big works guys getting out which bike to choose, which one will I use. McKeefka's got one bike only. He couldn't go out at the start of qualifying because they were still trying to glue up a hole in the sole of his boot because he didn't have another boot to wear. So yeah, it's not quite a level playing field, and everybody out there trying to level best. This man has tried his level best. All he's got to do now is hang it together.
He has, and it is, you're right, the difference. Some of these guys earning hundreds of thousands of pounds a year, and the others are just scratching around. Poor old Mark Heckles on the other Castrol Honda, just a standard kitted bike. He didn't even get to start the race. They had problems during practice, and so he sadly will not start either of the races here this weekend. But yeah, Colin Edwards, nothing he can do about this man this weekend. Round West Bank. Oh! Bit of a slither and a slide there. That's not what you want to be doing, and I thought these guys looked settled, but I don't know what was going on there, but no question about it. Bayliss, did he lose a little bit of concentration there?
Glass of water for the Ducati camp. A collective breath taken by the lot of them. Now, what happened there?
Well, he just tapped it on. I think he was trying to just get it sliding out of there, you know, just showboating, think, I'll just leave a nice big black line out of there, but it slid and then it gripped a bit, and now let's see, he'll be tiptoeing his way around here now. I think this will be the slowest way he's ever been through this chicane.
Well, it got our attention, of that there is no doubt. You can stop it now, Troy. Last corner, and as smooth and as you like, just rolls that throttle on. But Troy Bayliss, the world champion, crosses the line to win the first race this afternoon. 5 races on the trot for Troy Bayliss. Very strong stuff. Edwards across in second place. Ruben Zaus will be following in third.
Not a bad ride, and Bostrom and then Hodgson will be coming through shortly. So again, Neil Hodgson, definitely Bostrom and Hodgson will be thinking, what can we do about these front guys?
Congratulations, and why not? Troy Bayliss had to fight for that race. Troy Bayliss made the most of a good start, but Troy Bayliss did not lead that race all the way through. Remember Hager? He did a very good job as well. Big pat on the back from Zaus, his teammate. Nice stuff. And remember, Zaus himself moved from the third row. Zaus was in 11th position when they started. Wheel stand, one hand holding a flag. You can do that.
Oh, absolutely. No problem at all, as long as I'm in a car. But yeah, great stuff. 5 wins on the row at the start of the season. He just seemed invincible at the moment. There's going to be a lot of head scratching going on, no doubt, in the Bostrom camp, in the Edwards camp, well, Zouse doesn't need to scratch his head. He's only got to look at the data and he will realise what happened, and that was purely and simply that Bayliss just hammered in those fast laps.
Yep, this is a great circuit for car lunatics. It's a very rough and tough circuit indeed, because it is so challenging. The corners do tighten up on you so much. But it's a great spectator circuit, not only because of the numbers of people you got here, but because of the elevation and the undulations. You can see a lot of the track from different vantage points. Susie is down there in the pit lane, and she's got our race winners with her.
Ruben, big battle for you having to come from the third row of the grid.
Well, it was a hard race, really, but it started to be a hard day this morning when I've got that crash with Keely. That I would like to say that I'm sorry. I'm really sorry about Keely because he got injured and it wasn't my proportion. You know, I was doing my line and he moved back to the boxes, but I don't know. We didn't understood each other, so we've got that little crash for him. It's big crash, but I didn't want to do it, so it was bad feeling for me before the race, and I still got not so good feeling right now.
But now you and Frankie have made friends again?
Yeah, we're friends for sure. We're always friends. I've been friends with everyone here in the paddock, so you know, it was hard for me this morning. And for sure that race is for him because he couldn't race here and he will not race in Suga, so that third position is for him for sure.
All right, Ruben, thank you very much. Well, congratulations on your third place. Understandably feeling a little down about that. Moving along to second place. Well, Colin Edwards, this is certainly a place where you're just not allowed to make a mistake with him in front, are you?
I hate this place. Not the track. Second place, it sucks. But, no, I don't know. I mean, everything seemed all right until the green flag went.
Tell me, what were you thinking when you saw Bayliss take the lead?
Well, I saw him take the lead, and I thought, I can't, I got to get through as quick as I can, and that's when the Dunlop guys started. Their tires started going off a little bit, so I pushed as hard as I could and made some passes that I probably shouldn't have, but they worked, and no, I mean, we just encountered, 15th, 16th lap. That's all we had done, during the endurance testing this weekend, and we just encountered something that we hadn't planned on, and lap times dropped, quite considerably, and we'll have to go back to the drawing board and rethink it for the second race.
At what point of the race did you know that you just couldn't catch him?
When he made his mistake going into the chicane and I got right back towards him, I thought, okay, and I put my head down, and that's when I put my head down and nothing happened. I was struggling just to keep it on the track. So then he started eking away a bit, and at that point I thought, well, all I can do is just push him and hopefully make another mistake, but he didn't. Hats off to Troy, rode a good race.
Okay, well done. Thank you very much. And race winner, Troy Bayliss, 5 out of 5, equalling that record. It's been a perfect day for you so far.
Yeah, it's been really good. We expected, a pretty good result today, but, to win like that today was pretty special for me. The InfoStrategy Caddy's been working perfectly since I hopped on the new bike at the end of last year. And, of course, Michelin, all our other sponsors have been great. And but, I couldn't put a foot wrong today. Well, I did, actually. I put a foot wrong.
At the end, you did a little slide, didn't you?
Yeah, the last lap, well, that was nothing really. But, I mean, when I made the mistake in the chicane, I lost a second and a half. So then I knew Colin was right there, and I had to just see if I could open it back up, and I did without a problem, so I was quite happy.
Congratulations. Thank you very much, Troy Bayliss.
And that's where they all finished up. Colin Edwards 4 seconds adrift at the end. That's the head scratch he's got to deal with. Ruben Zouse, what a charge. He was pretty much in touch. Ben Bostrom and Hodgson, well, both of those guys have got some work to do. Have to think about the tyre compounds they're using, the Dunlop runners, I guess. James Toseland, Hodgson's teammate, further adrift, but good result for him. Nice to see Azutsu and Walker on the leaderboard as well.
It really does, but remember, Ruben Zouse has to start from that same grid position. Third row start for him again, so he's got it all to do again. Unfortunately, the hard work he's done won't bump him up on the grid. And there you get Vorhab, Borcini, Parks down there on the Pirelli shod bike. Not a bad ride from him.
Yeah, they struggled a little bit, though. Just a bit out of touch. Rider standings now, don't really need to tell you. Bayliss first by a country mile, then Edwards and Bostrom. Zouse starting to build a little bit. Neil Hodgson still very much right in the thick of it there. Norrie Hager, if he can just bank a better result than that, he'll jump up. It's really much within him. Azutsu on the leaderboard, as indeed is James Toseland.
Yeah, good stuff from the British rider there, and very pleased for Chris Walker with that result he had. We know he's still suffering from that Bell's palsy situation, but getting stronger and stronger the whole time. Yeah, and a good showing as well for the 4-cylinder bikes.
Now, we've got Super Sport later on this afternoon, and then there's the second round. Can Bayliss do it again? Can Edwards do anything more? We'll find out later on this afternoon at Kyalami. See you there.
If this man was any hotter, he'd be on fire. Ducati's Troy Bayliss has opened the season 4 wins in as many tries. He's the first man in history to start a World Superbike season with a perfect record. But can he keep it going? Not if Americans Colin Edwards and Ben Bostrom have anything to say about it. So put down the weed eater, turn the ringer off, and tell the kids to settle down. Because we're off to South Africa for round 3 of the World Superbike Championship on the network you can count on for the best race action.